And I want to make sure, do we have Tim on the line too? Okay, he may not have connected by sound here.
One thing I'll suggest to everybody is if there are multiple people, it'll probably be ideal if folks mute themselves because when you get a lot of background noise, it just gets with so many different microphones live, it can get a little bit challenging to hear. So usually on your phone, or even if you're calling in through Join Me, there's an option to just mute yourself. So you might want to do that. But of course, if you do, try to remember if you start asking a question, because no one will hear you otherwise, to unmute yourself. That's all.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jono. Okay, so let's go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, can everybody see my screen here with the first slide on it?
Yes.
I see it, Pat. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay. So first of all, thank you guys so much for getting on this demo. I really do appreciate your time. And just a little bit about Hubbli. Hubbli's goal is to really help drive parent engagement with kind of a private social network specifically for schools. And part of that, our belief is if parent communication is really smooth and easy for a school staff to manage, that it only helps improve the success of the students. So actually, there was quite a few years of research going on over the past few years to discover that schools were really spending a lot of time and money to try to communicate with parents and not having a great success with it. So Hubbli is really a platform that'll reduce the number of tools that schools are using to reduce workload, reduce schools' expenses like paper, copying, people resources. So Hubbli will really help accomplish all those things. And also Hubbli will help assist growing enrollment by a more positive word of mouth, and also to help increase web traffic as well. So Hubbli actually uses all these different areas. So we have social groups specific towards a preschool classroom or staff, and we'll go into those in more details. We can provide full paperless administration and have digital files and records. We can guarantee messaging. And all this really helps with parent engagement, as well as we have scheduling automation, and we can actually automate your whole enrollment process. And we can also do online payments. And of course, we have full support with everybody. Oh, hold on one second. There looks like somebody else wants to join here.
Hi, all. This is Anne. Anne Wintervan.
Hey,
My apologies for joining late. I had a previous meeting that ran over.
Oh, no, thanks for joining, Anne. I appreciate it. We're just kind of going through a little bit of the introduction slides here. Let me get back over here. So groups is a primary place where we communicate, and it's kind of similar to Facebook, but much, much more privacy without the weekly changes, which helps protect the school and of course the children at the school. And like I mentioned, we can have groups for anything. Okay. This is actually a snapshot of what our groups look like. This is specific to one classroom, and you can send bite-sized pieces of information. You can just put a reminder out there that tomorrow is a field trip day, and please remember to bring your sunscreen. You can send it out by SMS. You can also attach photos and links to this bite-sized piece of information. And most importantly, you can see who actually opened it, how many people it was delivered to, how many clicked on it, how many people also replied to it, which of course is very important information. I know in speaking to Deb, there was no way to know whether the communications were received, and that's something that was important to the school.
If I could ask a question, how do you guys currently communicate to specific groups of parents?
Right, this is Deb. Right now we have something that we're using called Blackboard, so we can send texts and voicemail and email to different groups or the entire school. And that's a big improvement over what we had previously. What we have now on our website are class pages, which are that's the area that we think is perhaps not as viewed as we would like it to be in terms of reminders and things happening in the classroom.
Okay. So you're the school's using Blackboard.
Yes.
And are you using that also as a learning management system?
No, just as a mass communication system.
What was as a mass communication system?
Yeah, just for sending big groups of
Oh,
texts and
mass.
math.
I thought you said math, like the subject math. I was confused. Okay, I understand. Great. Okay, so that system's allowing you to organize parents into different groups according to different classes.
Classes, grades,
Mm-hmm.
and after-school programs, summer camp, that type of thing.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. So, and are you using any other communication tools between the school and the parents?
The individual teachers use their school email accounts back and forth, and so I guess those are the different. They don't email through Blackboard. They use our mcsdurham.org email or web.
So why don't they use Blackboard for that?
I don't know. That was just a decision that was made back. So the teachers don't have access to the groups on Blackboard. Only the admin folks.
So when teachers want to email or send a message or a reminder out to their parents, they don't use Blackboard. They use a different system.
Well, or they email. They can email directly through webmail, or they will email our office assistant, and she will send it out by Blackboard. Not the most efficient method.
I see. Yeah. So that's in general what we're seeing when schools are using. A lot of schools will use Blackboard as as their actual LMS system or their student information system, and on top of that, even if they're using the Blackboard K-12 product, they're using on top of that many other forms of communication, which are all different databases that have to be maintained.
Right.
So if your teachers are sending out messages by another system, how is that system's database being maintained?
That it's not one database. So Blackboard's maintained in the office, and right, and then the teachers have to maintain their individual databases with their class list.
Okay, and do they all use that? So that class list is just in when you say webmail, is it do you know what email system is supporting the webmail that you use? Is it Google Apps, or is it Office 365, or is it something different?
It's something different. It's just it's through our website. So it's not Google Apps. We do have, I believe, our adolescent program is in Google Apps with their own website.
So that's another system you're using.
Right. And then each individual classroom is maintaining. Some of us use Gmail and route our mcsdurham.org email addresses through Gmail, but everyone's maintaining their own database, basically, of parents for that particular group, right? And
do you think that well, I guess my question is, if everyone's maintaining their own databases and you have, how many databases do you think are being managed right now in total?
Well, with the individual classrooms, I would say at least 11 or 12 for each room.
Hmm.
Although there are co-teachers, so it may be that each teacher maintains their own in Outlook or Gmail to be able
Wow.
to email the students in
Right.
those
So when a
classrooms.
parent updates their information,
Mhm.
like putting aside every year or every time there's enrollment, all those different databases have to be updated and matched and somehow reconciled with each other, I'm assuming.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but when parents change their information, like, how do you know they're getting the information? How do you even know you have the right email address?
We don't. That's the problem.
Okay.
It's not centralized.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Okay. All right. So now I have a good understanding of why we're talking.
Right.
That helps. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I just wanted to
Mhm.
get a better picture. All right, Pat. Go ahead.
Sorry, can everybody still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
good. I just had a glitch here at my end, so thanks. Okay. So another great thing is how this communication comes across. Parents actually receive it on their email from the person who sent it out, and right there on their email, they can actually click a link and reply to that message. They can go directly to their group site, and they can also receive this on their phone. So this is really a great way because parents really don't want to miss a communication if it's coming over right there on their smartphone. I'll be real about it. We live by our smartphone, so if they're getting a message from their teacher right there, it's a sure way to know that everything has been received and got here. Sorry, somebody else is joining. Okay. This gives you an idea of how Hubbli sits in the middle of the communication. So when messages are being sent from regular email to a parent's inbox or parents, Hubbli sits in the middle and archives this. So you don't have to log in to reply, but you can carry on the conversation outside of Hubbli, and you have record of it being archived within the system. I know with some of the things that you mentioned, Deb, do you have any capability to track the communications in all of these systems?
No, right now the only communication we can track is what is sent through Blackboard. So individual teacher communications we don't have access to as an administrative team. We don't have record of those unless our program directors are copied on emails to parents.
Okay, wow.
And
Would it be helpful?
currently, if I could ask, when a parent gets a message through Blackboard, do they have to log in to respond to it?
No, they can respond to it directly from what they actually it's a more of a one-way communication. They receive it and then they have to then if they're replying they can't reply directly to the Blackboard. They have to forward and type in a new email address. So it's not ideal
Okay.
for the two-way
Right.
communication. For the one-way, if it's, the water main broke outside, we have to send everybody home, come pick up your children. They'll usually pick up the phone and call the front office and get more details if they need more details, but it's not a two-way communication, no.
Okay, so that's basically one of the biggest differences you'll find between Hubbli and, I mean, let alone we've already talked about the multiple communication channels that you have. But inside Hubbli, if you take a look at this diagram, on the top left corner and the top right corner, we've got two sort of user icons, and those are, let's say, the one on the left is a teacher and the one on the right is a parent. So we were looking at that group. So let's say a teacher posts an update or sends a newsletter through the group. That goes out to the parent, right? Or it could even be a staff group where the admin is sending in a message to the staff in a group. Essentially, the point is that it goes out of Hubbli to the user, to their email, whichever email address they like to use or email provider. And so in the previous screen, we were seeing an email notification that came through Hubbli, and it comes directly from the person that sent it, so they know it's this person, this teacher, this staff member, or whatnot. And then they can reply right from that email. They don't have to do any CC Magic or log into another system, if they have a follow-up question about it, they can just reply right from that email. And because both of these users are on the Hubbli system, that email goes through Hubbli and then back out to the other user into their email inbox. And so these two users are actually can be communicating completely outside of Hubbli now, carrying on a conversation without ever needing to go through additional steps of logging into Hubbli. But Hubbli is actually organizing all these conversations by these users, right? So in an example, like a teacher posts something in a group, it goes out to the parent or all the parents of that group, and then let's say if a parent wants to ask a question, they can just reply to that email, and it goes back to that teacher's email inbox, and so now they're communicating by email from their whatever email tool they like to use. They're not even logging into Hubbli. But Hubbli is actually archiving and organizing this conversation and keeping records of the entire conversation, which can be picked up inside Hubbli as well if the parent or the teacher wants to log in. There's a group, and you can actually carry on the conversation inside Hubbli too, but they don't even need to log in. And you as the admin now have record of this. Of the conversation between the staff and the parents, or the staff and the staff, or you could also create a group where parents can talk to each other, which is really handy for parent and volunteer groups or counselors or whatnot. But because they're all part of this system, you have complete documentation of all the communications. And if they read it, if they clicked on it, if they replied to it, it's all there. All of that information is there for you. And if you don't mind me asking, are there any scenarios that pop up in your head where you see that being helpful?
The two-way communication, I think, just with everything, and the archiving of emails would be huge, and just documenting different conversations.
Have you ever had a time when you wanted or needed to look up, have you ever had to ask teachers to show you documented communication between them and a parent or anything like that? Have you had a scenario where you needed to review a conversation?
I have not personally, but I would think that a program director or a head of school would have need for that at certain times.
Hey, this is Dave Doherty. Yes, I've had that before.
Okay, and you don't have to give me detail. I don't want to get personal or anything, but what type of scenario was it? Was it a scenario where there was risk for the school? Was there a potential complaint or something that you needed to just kind of verify that, oh yeah, that person did say that, or was it anything like that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we hear. And, obviously that's not your everyday thing. Your staff is probably great, and, people generally don't make mistakes, but people are people, and there's human error, and there's also just some parents are problematic and some are awesome. But every now and then, every school that we talk to says we've had times when it would be really beneficial if we could actually see what that conversation was, without having to, dig through or request information. You know what I mean? It's just it's at your fingertips. And you can even say, okay, parent, you got this message or you got this newsletter, and right here it shows me that you opened it or you clicked on it. And not that you ever want to, nobody wants to be in that conversation, but sometimes you have to be, and you have that ability with a system like this. So, the main point of this feature is the ease of use for the parent. That's why we built this. That's why we built it like that. We didn't build this system so that you have, for the reason of of you being able to document all conversation. We built this system like this so that communication is easy and enjoyable for the staff and for the parents. But the result of building a system like that is that it also gave us the ability to, archive and record everything, which means that in those times, like the school has, you can just kind of rest assured, like you kind of always know what's going on, and if you ever need to check into something, it's there for you.
Okay. Yeah. I think that would be
helpful. So we can go on now.
Okay, thanks, Jono. Okay. Do you guys maintain classroom calendars or school-wide calendars? How are you notifying your parents of school events?
Right now, our calendar is on our website, and it's a series of Google calendars. And they are by level, but the parents have the ability to subscribe to any of the calendars or all of the calendars. Our teachers don't maintain calendars in their own classrooms.
Okay, so it sounds like there's multiple places. Would it be helpful to have one school calendar that actually filters out the events for the parents and they can subscribe to according to their group membership for, say, a PTO and a preschool classroom, and then all the school-wide events all in one place?
Well, that's what we have with the different levels. That's not by classroom, though, but it's by like lower elementary, upper elementary, that type of thing. The thing that I think would be helpful with Hubbli is that there are classroom events, field trips, and potlucks or other sort of social things that happen in each of the classrooms that sometimes don't get communicated to the appropriate person to get added to the all-school calendar. So that would be nice if it was all on one calendar. So if each classroom had those little events that would then filter up, that would be great.
Exactly. That's exactly what. Go ahead, Jono.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was just going to say the same thing. The way you just described it is exactly how Hubbli works. So you can manage, and this goes for most things inside Hubbli. Is that so? This is a great example of how we sort of architect, the information and how we make it so that things are presented to the right people automatically without having to manually place things on different calendars, and there's other examples of this through Hubbli, but every group has its own calendar, but the reality is, and so I'm going to try not to get too technical here or anything, but essentially there's one calendar, and you make events, and you can manage this calendar system for the entire school from one place. Mm-hmm. So when the admin logs into the admin dashboard, there's a calendar feature where you can create events. And when you create an event, you have the option to assign it to a group. And by doing that, it shows up not only on the main school calendar, which is the smaller image on the right. So that's like the Hubbli site, and there's a school calendar, and that's what we're looking at. And we're seeing different colors because you can color code different calendars. Mm-hmm. So any calendar event you create will show up there. But if you assign it to a group or to multiple groups, it'll also show up on those individual groups, and that's the image on the left. So Class 104 is a group, and you've created that event and you've assigned it there. That's if you're managing it centrally. But also, an event can be created inside that specific group by, let's say, a teacher who's just been given the role of the group admin, right? Not the school admin. They don't have access to the administrative dashboard, but just for that particular group, they can have a permission to create events and manage the calendar for that group, which means that they're actually adding an event to the one main calendar system, but they can only do it for that group. And then, of course, you have, again, central sort of command from the dashboard to delete it or assign it to other groups or whatnot. But the most important thing here is, and I just, if I could just request, if anyone, I'm hearing a lot of background noise. It'd be helpful if people could mute their mics, just because it's just difficult to talk over it. The parent. So this is the most important thing. Number one, you've got one main calendar, and to share events in the different groups, all you have to do is assign events to those different groups. But the parent who is a member only of maybe the all-school group and, you know, one other classroom group, when they go to the main school calendar, it automatically filters away the events that they don't need to see. So one way of describing Hubbli is that it's an automated parent information filtration system. And one thing I can say from our research and our thousands of conversations with schools is that if you want to keep parents informed, you need to not send them information that's irrelevant to them. So it sounds like you guys put a lot of work into communicating to different groups, and you're managing, you know, like it sounds like there's a lot of time and effort going into, you know, sending, you know, maintaining different lists for different classes, and, you know, sending information in different systems so that the parents are getting relevant information. So it sounds like you really understand, because not all schools do that. Not all schools actually put the time in and the effort in to actually, you know, filter information to the right parents. But it sounds like you understand the value of that, because what we hear from parents across the board is that generally speaking, they get a lot of information that's not relevant to them as parents at that school. They're getting, even if they, and a lot of times, even if they are getting streams of information about this program or that class or this age level, they're still getting hammered over the head with like a fire hose of everything and anything at least once a week from the school main office or something. It's like the catch-all information fire hose that just gets shot at them all the time. So what happens is, when you're doing that to parents, you're essentially training them to ignore you, because nobody that gets information from any organization enjoys getting irrelevant information. And so if parents, you know, so our whole, like the whole goal of Hubbli is to give you a system so that you can communicate only 100% relevant information to your parents without having to figure out how to do that. The system does that. So all you have to do is use the calendar tool the right way, meaning make an event, assign it to the right groups, or allow your teachers to make their own events for their own groups or their own classrooms inside their group. And then parents are going to get updated only with relevant information. And when they log into the system, they're not going to see anything that doesn't pertain to them. Everything they see now is 100% relevant. And if you want high parent engagement, and I'm sure everybody would raise their hand if I said, do you want, you know, more parent engagement? But you might also want to say, well, we want good parent engagement, not the bad parent engagement, right? So if you want parent engagement that isn't really based around, I didn't hear about this, or how come I didn't get notified about that, or where's this information, where's that? You want the parent engagement about, you know, let's talk more about this program, or how can I be involved? You know, you want the good parent engagement. So Hubbli is here to make the positive, the good parent engagement easy, and more, while reducing the need for the staff to kind of, you know, chase after people to see if they know or heard, or, you know, are going to show up to that parent-teacher conference or whatever. So I'm kind of veering off into many different topics. Essentially, I like using the calendar as an example, because without you having to figure out how to filter things away from people or manage multiple calendars, you've got the system that basically does it for you. And if you want to delegate the group, in the group event information to teachers of that group, it's really easy to do while having that central oversight at any point to make adjustments.
Okay, thanks, Jono. Another feature. Oh, wrong way here. Sorry about that, folks. My mouse does not want to cooperate. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on one second here. Okay, sorry about that. One item we do have is newsletters in there. And I understand that you're currently sending your newsletters as an attachment. Is that in your emails?
I'm sorry, you're asking about our newsletters and how
Right.
we send them?
Yeah.
Right. So we send them as a PDF through Blackboard, so it is an attachment that they have to click and open.
Okay. Okay, one item we have with Hubbli, which will eliminate that clicking and opening and also the maintaining multiple email addresses there for all the teachers, is we have newsletters that are actually available in our groups. So the teachers can send a newsletter or you can send a school-wide newsletter. And it's easy enough to just pick a template. You can choose colors, you can add your logo, you can really make it customized so that you can personalize it to a parent's name as well. Then, of course, you can bold and indent things so it looks really nice and fancy. And what I personally love about newsletters is you can actually clone a newsletter. So once you get your school logo and your colors in it and just how you want it, you can clone that for the next newsletter. So it makes that whole process really efficient and really quick for you.
And so if I could ask, like when you, again, with your newsletters that go out, are you able to track if they're opened or if anybody clicks on them or anything or replies to them?
I believe the only thing that we can do with Blackboard is to see that they were delivered, but not necessarily whether they were opened or not.
I see.
On the PDF. And, I think we're some things are lost and with communications in terms of events or, that type of thing. So we have the idea maybe that the newsletters aren't opened as often as we would like them to be.
I see.
Okay. So also within our groups, you can have forums. So you can have a forum for anything. And just a rough idea for classroom and school-wide, about how many forums are you managing at your school?
I am putting these on our website right now for our staff and our families, and I would say we have probably 30 or 40 forms in a year. And then that doesn't include field trip forms or like overnight trip forms, re-enrollment. We are not currently online with our re-enrollment or our new parent applications.
When you say online, when you say you're putting these forms on your site right now, are they forms that have to be downloaded, or are they actually digitally? Okay, so
no, it's still paper. So we're putting them up as PDFs. They open them and they print the ones that are applicable to their child, and they fill those out on paper and return them in. It is not an online process. No.
Right.
We would like it to be though.
Okay. Yeah. So what we're looking at here is just an example of, so much like the calendar, the forms have the ability to be assigned to a particular group or to everybody. So, but so So meaning like if there's, let's say, a field trip form for a particular age level, you can put that form just in that group, and so just those parents have access to that form. Or it could be a form that staff fill out. So our forms also handle any type of student documentation or record keeping, or progress reports, or scope and sequence records, anything like that. And there's a whole lot of features to these forms, but this slide here is just meant to show you just in general, like don't get caught up with the fact that this is a field trip permission form, because that's a basic form, but this could be an enrollment form or like an enrollment application or a scope and sequence. The point is that these forms are digital, and because they're digital, they're a lot nicer to use, and they can be used on any device. And they have all these different types of features of just entering data. You can do signatures with your finger or a mouse. You can handle payments through the forms, and when they're entered, they're organized for you digitally. So if you look in the main part of this screen, there's a list of entries. The idea here is that currently, if a parent fills out a form that's paper, they bring it to you at the office, and then you have to either file it away in paper, or you have to somehow get the information from that form into a digital system, which is just manual typing, right? So that's really, really time consuming. So if you never had to do that again, meaning if every single form or documentation, for any bit of information you gather from any of your parents or staff, if that was all handled digitally and organized for you into a digital system automatically, where you could search or export or print off, and so that whenever you needed to find a particular form entry for a particular student, you could just type in a name and get the form, as opposed to opening up a filing cabinet or spending the time to type it into a digital system after the parent gives you the form. How much time overall throughout the year would that save you?
Oh, huge number of hours. I can't even quantify that. I do have a question though. So with the form, so for example, just a field trip form for a particular classroom or group. So there are 25 students. Is there the ability to then download the information for that one field trip form to assure that we have everybody's form and before a trip, say, so all of that can be sent electronically to a teacher?
Yeah, that's a great. I actually have a teacher that told me before he was using Hubbli, if he wanted to, he was actually a high school teacher, and he likes to do a lot of field trips. And if he wanted to do a field trip, per field trip, it ended up being about 3 hours of paper management, because he would go to the office, they would make a form in Word, and then they would print it off, and so that whole process would take somewhere between a half an hour to an hour just to kind of go to the office and handle all that stuff, and then get it and then print it off, and then he would hand it to the kids, and then for weeks he'd be gathering paper from the kids, whereas just up until the time of the trip. So he'd be walking around with this ever-growing pile of paper and having to manage that and keep track of it. And then, when the bus is about to pull out for the trip, there's always somebody that doesn't have their form in. And then if he wants to have that list to check off, that sort of, that roll call list, basically, he would have to write it out, so just all this time. And so he loves to do field trips because it's great for the kids. And it's, it's just a fun way to learn, and it's high value, but it takes on average 3 hours and just a lot of hassle, right? So his motivation to do a lot of field trips was low because, it's all this time, and he's a teacher and he needs to spend his time teaching, right? So when he used Hubbli, he was able to do 14 field trips without any of that time because he had a field trip form, just like this one here, and the parents could fill it out. And he was notified every time it was filled out, and he could look, and he could see all the entries right there, and you can print off all the entries. So you've got a list. You can also see all the entries on your phone or an iPad. Like, you don't even have to print it off. You can just view it right there. You don't even have to go that extra mile or that extra step of printing it off. But if you want to, you can print off the list of the entries and have that kind of roll call list, automatically with a couple clicks. So it's that, it's all those little things in between that end up taking all that time, right? It's like, not only, is it like, you're chasing after kids or parents to get the form in, and then if you want to organize that information in any way that's usable, you have to spend some time typing it into another system or handwriting it or something, you know what I mean? Like, that is probably, like you said, it's hard to even calculate how much time you spend doing all those things for every different scenario, every different form, every different trip, enrollment processes. Like, I know I'm going to visit a school today that's one of our oldest customers. And the reason why they signed up with us was because their parents wanted the school to go digital with forms. They wanted to go paperless. So so they're in Santa Cruz. So I'm actually going there to spend a day with them, doing some consulting with them. And the first thing they did was they took their parent packet. So what they used to do is they would send a package, like a stack of 20 to 30 sheets of paper to every family, for every kid. And this was their parent packet process at the beginning, their enrollment process. And then they would, so that's expensive and time consuming just to get that ready and mail out to all the parents. And then they're chasing after the parents to get the forms in. And then they had somebody that would literally type all the information from all those forms into another, into FileMaker Pro or something, or Excel, another sort of digital database that was completely on its own, just a separate database. It wasn't connected to anything else, right? So, but the time it takes and all the opportunities for human error is enormous. We're talking about weeks of work, full-time work, getting that information out, gathering it, putting it into a system so that it can be organized. And also the parents don't really love they don't love the experience of getting a pile of paper where they have to keep on writing in their name and signing it and filling in the child's name. It's all this repetitive information that has to be handwritten for every, this parent packet has 10 or different forms in it. And the parents don't really enjoy handwriting in that repetitive information over and over and over again. Now what happens is the parents fill that entire thing out online in Hubbli. They don't have to ever, they don't even have to enter their name because they're logging into the system and they're already a user in the system and the user knows who they are. And, they're already connected to the student. And so all of those forms that used to be 30 sheets of paper is now shortened down to it's probably about 30% of the information, the fields that have to be entered is way shorter and it's way easier to do, and they can do it on any device. And then when they submit that form or that parent packet, which is now a nice experience for the parents, that's it. It's done and you're done. There's nothing else for you to do because the information is in your system. Whoever needs to be notified can be notified, parent packet was entered, but basically you can just go in and look in the system at any point in time and see all the parent packets that are there, and it's all organized by parent and by child, and all that information is there, and nobody had it's done, the job is done. All you have to do is create the form And by the way, when you sign up with Hubbli, we make all these forms for you. You don't have to, you don't, like our form, we have a really easy drag and drop form builder, but part of our onboarding process is that we actually just do it for you. So you don't even have to spend the time doing it. We'll make all your forms digital and, show you where they are on the site. And it's done. And then when you need to look something up, you just go and you search. And it's a simple, like you type in a student name and it appears. It takes seconds. And then
this is Anne. From a parent perspective, do parents have access to the forms that they've filled out? And is that something that they can update? Say my nanny changes and I need to change the name of the person with permission to pick up my child. Is that something I can go and do anytime?
Yep.
And the office is notified?
Yes.
And are there
exactly.
Are there reminders on any of these that can be set up either from the administration side or from the parent side? Say I want a reminder the night before a field trip, or maybe I need a reminder that my son's permission to administer an EpiPen form is about to expire. Is that something that can be set up?
Yes. So that's so this, what we're looking at here is an example of just the way some of these features work with these forms. So basically, the one on the left here is right. It's labeled as an attendance form, but that could be any type of form. That could be emergency contact information or immunization records or anything, right? So parent goes in there, they select their child, and they fill out the information, or a teacher goes in there and fills out a form about a child. The forms can send a notification. Like they have the ability to automatically notify the parents of the form entry or a staff member. So for this is all set up differently for each form because each form has different needs. But if a form is submitted by either staff or parent, a notification can go out to anybody that needs to be notified if that's beneficial for that particular form. So like maybe an accident report could send a notification automatically to the parent, right? But that can just be turned on or off. And then the form is, all the form entries go into a central database that you can always go in and query. But at the same time, for parents, when a form is submitted about a child, it shows up on the student's page. So there's a page not only about like the groups, but we also have student pages here. So this is like a digital filing cabinet about this child. So any form submission, any type of record keeping, anything, all shows up on this student's page. And that page is only accessed by the parents or the staff or the teachers connected to that student. And so all the entries for the different forms are listed there, and depending on your permissions, and the permissions of the form can be adjusted per form, but by default they're all kind of set up for like 99% of the scenarios the right way. In any event, let's say like a common example of what you just asked about is a parent fills out emergency contact information for the student. So that's something that the parent could go to their student page and update that information anytime. They could just click. It's hard to see, but like there's a link there that says edit entry on every one of those entries. So the parent could just go to that form entry, click it, it opens up, and they can update, or they can add another. Let's say you've got the standard sort of list of who has permission to pick up the children, right? So from year to year, or actually at any point, but generally speaking, from year to year, that needs to be updated because maybe grandpa retired and he's now on the list of, people that are going to pick up, the children. So the parents can just go there and open up that form entry and add another name or remove a name, just keep on, updating the information to keep it accurate whenever they need to. But they can also be reminded on any particular date to do so.
Okay. Thanks, Jono. Are there any more questions regarding forms? So another area that we have is appointments. So how are you currently booking, say, a parent-teacher conference or a tour for prospective families? How does that happen?
This is Deb. I'll talk. I think Crystal's not on. She's listening, but she's not able
I'm
to
on.
speak. Oh, you
Okay,
are?
yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. um, well, as far as the parent conference meeting, they would basically call in and I would look up the dates, look on the share calendar that we have for Google and see if they have available dates, and I'll set that or contact the teacher to see if it's okay. Um, so for the most part, we don't have a teacher's calendar here, so the teacher basically will verbally tell me whether it's okay or not, and then I'll schedule it.
Okay. Okay. Would it be beneficial or easier for you to do to have a calendar for a particular teacher where you could click a button and the system would actually send a confirmation or reminders to those appropriate people?
Yeah, that would be excellent versus me having to continuously send an email and say, hey, don't forget that this conference is coming up this day, so that they would have that in their mailbox, and it's something that I don't have to automatically do. So once it's set, it's set.
Right.
Would
And
it
is
be
it
helpful? So would it be helpful if the parents themselves could select? Meaning, you just have to set up the available sessions once, and then the parents can come there, go to their respective classrooms or teachers, and select what's available. So let's say you set it up so that parent-teacher conferences are happening on every day between 3 and 6 for the next week, for 20-minute or half an hour sessions or something. So the parents can come there and select the date and the time that they want, and then it becomes unavailable to everybody else. So that the color would change from green to white.
Okay.
And then whoever is then the teacher's notified, right? And also the parent, there's a lot of settings here. We set it up for you, but the parent can get a confirmation, or you could add a step in the process where it's pending until somebody else approves it. But usually that's just an unnecessary step for this scenario. But so they get a confirmation email. The staff member, either the teacher or the sort of the admin staff that's managing it centrally, can be notified, and reminders can go out to the parents. A sequence of reminders. Actually, they can get as many as you want them to get. We generally suggest 2, like one like 2 days before and then one the day of. And then if you want to, you can send another reminder like an hour before their session, just to help make sure that they show up on time without you having to send those reminders. So if all that stuff was being handled by the system, how much time would that save you?
A lot. Yeah, it would definitely save a lot of time.
Okay, and how do you guys manage school tours for prospective families?
The same exact way.
Okay, so if you had a system where so if this feature was used for prospective parents, so like meaning school, you could set up like we see schools doing tours either on specific days or specific hours of the day. If a parent could just sign up for an available slot and be reminded or be notified, would that make that process easier as well?
I definitely feel that it would make that process easier, and that way, it's all done in one shot, so it's not like you're having to continually go back here and check there. It's done. It's more efficient, and as well, you can see what you have available and what you don't have available.
Okay, great.
We also have automated school and invoice management system, which ties in with our forms to automate the entire enrollment process and invoice management process. On the left side here, you see what a parent gets. They actually have their own account page with their balance and their account history, so they can reference it at any time. They can also pay right there on the invoice. You can have invoices for different types of scenarios, such as your reoccurring tuition or like a one-time charge for after-school care, or a purchase for a yearbook, which also can be done one-off on our forms for little things like that. Excuse me. And it also sends automatic invoices and notifications. You can import it and export it to various accounting systems such as QuickBooks Online automatically. We also have another new tool that ties in with this called Hubbli Pay. Actually, we can reduce your rates for, rather than going through PayPal or Swipe or Authorize.net, down to 1% on ACH or on eChecks. And for credit cards, we actually can do 2.5 on credit cards, which will save you lots of money and really help the parents save time by going ahead and paying for that invoice right there online with their credit card or check.
Yeah. So basically, these invoices, you have the ability to record a check payment against these invoices, if a parent, or depending on how you guys prefer to work, like let's say a parent's paying for tuition all up front, you could enter that in, and they hand you a check, and you go into the invoice and you just record that check payment on that invoice, and it updates the balance. But also, you could tie, so we can create a merchant account for you for Hubbli Pay, where the parent can just go click into that invoice and pay online through their checking account, and it can be also set up for like automated payments, like every month, like a subscription or whatnot, according to your specific tuition rates.
Okay, and in the center here is what the school sees. You have different pieces of information, outstanding items paid, month to date, and some nice graphs that go along with it, so you can really see at a glance what's going on with your school. And on the right side of the screen here, you can actually go in and query all your records and export them, like I mentioned earlier, but you can see the specific details on a family of, if they have a pending payment or if things were paid as well.
Yeah, so you can run reports on invoices and payments and everything, just as detailed as you need, and export them or even import them from another system.
This gives you an idea. Go ahead, Jono.
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to say, so this is what this screen is trying to kind of display is how all of these pieces can tie into each other to really automate a lot of the manual workflows. So what we've been doing is showing you different features that all themselves reduce a lot of workload, but there's a higher level of sort of workload reduction with automation that can tie one feature into the next. So we have a feature called workflows that, as an example, can completely automate, a parent interest through enrollment process. So just to like kind of spell this out, like, a parent can come to Hubbli, come to your site, fill in an inquiry form. At that point, they can get a series of emails that are timed, that go out as, like thanking them for, inquiring. Email can be sent out 1 or 2 days later that says, hey, please click here to book a tour, and that could lead them directly to that tour booking page where they select the tour, and without you having to actually follow up with them. So that's every school does all these things. Some of them do a little bit differently. So I'll give you an example of what we just set up for another school. Parent fills out the inquiry form, and then the admission staff member gets a notification that the form was just filled out, and with the details of the form and the parent's information. And then that staff member will call and vet the parent and see if they want to do a tour with them. And then upon doing so, the staff member can update the form, can just click one little like accept button or yes or no button. And then by doing so, that parent then gets an automated email that gets sent to them saying, giving them the information of how to book a meeting. And then, so that gives them a link to go to the calendar, and then they select the calendar. And then obviously you have your meeting with that parent or that tour with that prospective parent. And then that staff member can go back to that form and update the status to, whatever, next status is, meaning like, send application form or don't. Like maybe that parent is somebody that you don't want in the school. So, so you can just update the status of that form entry, and depending on the update you make, that can send off different messages to that parent, which if, let's say you want the parent to, like you've accepted them or you want them to fill out the application form. So all you have to do is one click on the form to update the status, and then they'll get an automated email that's pre-written, but will merge in their name or whatever personal information you want, and it sends them to the form to fill out for application. And then, whatever your process is, like at that point when they fill in the application, that form can even take an application fee right there. And then again, the staff member that needs to know about that can be notified that, so-and-so paid, and, and then, maybe your next step is an observation with the child. So that leads, so upon, the staff member, again, updating the status of the form. So all the staff member has to do is go in, be notified that this parent did this or got to this stage. They go in and they, if the staff member needs to gather information from the parent or have a meeting or have a phone call, all they have to do now is just update the form just with one click on the status of that application process. And then the next stage happens automatically, which is a message out to the parent or a series of emails, or whatever it may be. And the really valuable thing here is that you can always see how many parents or how many prospective parents, as an example with this admissions workflow, who is at what stage, and what prospective parents are at which stage. And by the way, another thing that the system can do with these forms is, let's say after so the parents can fill out the inquiry form at the very beginning. The staff member gets notified to contact them and have a conversation. And then upon updating the status to, basically, yes, we want to move forward with this parent, that parent can be created in the system and tagged as a prospect. And you can now start to use the Hubbli newsletter feature to send out regular communications to all of your prospective parents. So now you're actually building a list of prospective parents that eventually will hopefully move into being, enrolled parents. But you're gathering that information, and they're organized in your system, and you can always send communications out now to all prospects. So anybody that's at any, and that could mean that the real value here is that, from one year to the next, maybe that parent, for whatever reason that you wanted to enroll, decided to put their child in another school. But you can actually send out regular, maybe monthly communications to all of your prospective parents. And maybe you're sending them valuable information and they like your communications. and this is where, I'm actually helping a lot of schools these days with understanding how to engage prospective parents ongoing. Even if they don't enroll, if you engage them well, they might enroll 1 or 2 years down the road, if you keep your communication up with them. So this is a really easy way to not only manage parents through your enrollment process and always know where everybody is at what stage, but even if they never get to that stage of being enrolled, they're in your system, you know where they are, and you can always send communications out to them as a prospect.
This is Anne. Can you talk to us a little bit more about things being paid online? Is this all being paid online by credit card, which is to say we would only get 97% or whatever of the actual amount, or does this work through a different system?
So you've got options there. So you have the ability to take credit card payment where, you'd get 97.5%, or you can the payment can also be through e-check, where you get 99% of the amount.
Okay, thank you.
So the e-check, just so you understand, all that means is instead of a credit card form, the parent, when they go to hit pay, like the form that actually collects the information, the payment information, that what they do is they select their bank, and then they sign into their bank, their online banking, and then it withdraws from their checking account. So you can have that as an option, or you can have it so that's the only option. So depending on the scenario, you or the form, you like for incidentals, credit card can be really handy for an application form. That you might want to offer credit card for an application form fee if you guys have a fee on your application form. A lot of our schools do. So credit cards are good for that, or for like a yearbook or a pizza lunch or something that's just kind of incidental. But for tuition, tuitions generally it's more ideal to have that with e-check because that's obviously a lot more transactions going on, and 2.5% can get expensive. So Pat, we're seeing your calendar. There we go. Are there any questions regarding the automation, or if I could ask, like, is there anybody here on the call that actually manages the admissions process?
Mike manages our admissions process, but he was not able to make the call. He'll listen to the recording at a later time. Yeah.
So he managed the admissions process. Is there anybody else that needs to view the status of any prospective parents? Is there anybody here that could benefit from at any point being able to see how many parents are at each stage of your admissions process by just logging in and seeing it?
This is Dave. I probably would like to see that, and Tim, who's not online, I'm sure he'd probably want to see that too, the head of school.
Yeah. So not only does it, so that's the value of this. Not only does it automate all the different.
I'm actually online and just have had my mic muted. It's Tim.
Oh, hi, Tim. Great. So I'm glad you're here. So not only does it automate all the different steps of that workflow, but it also will tell you exactly, how many people you have at every different stage, every different step of this process. So it's a at this point, this is a total, I mean, we can create workflows for not just for enrollment, which is obviously it's a high value point, but there's a lot of other simple things that could be managed using these automated workflow steps. Just for simple tasks, like if a parent fills out this particular form, this whatever staff member needs to be notified can be notified, and then they can take an action that either completes the workflow or kicks off the next step of the workflow. So it's workflow automation is a term that is, I don't know how meaningful it is to everybody. We're always trying to figure out how best to communicate what this can do. But the point is that school management from form to form and task to task, that gets assigned to people, does not need to be manual anymore. Like, it can be automated, and that it still requires the staff member that's assigned to the task to do something, but every time you need to do, like if a parent fills out an inquiry form, you shouldn't have to write manually a follow-up email. Like, that's something that can be pre-written and be kicked off, sent to the parent, like a nice branded email, with a link to the next step in the enrollment process, simply by the staff member checking a box, because this is somebody that we want to bring in for a tour, as opposed to staff member calls them, handwrites an email every time from scratch, and then manually sends them, has to manually create a calendar event and then invite them and then manually follow up with them, to remind them about it. Like, all those manual steps that our system can handle for you, that just doesn't make sense for a staff member to do anymore, because staff members need to be the human, in the middle of the process that says, yes, this person needs to go to the next stage. But once that decision's made, you shouldn't have to write an email from scratch and, follow up with people over and over again when you've got like a system like Hubbli that can manage that for you and, do that automated follow-up and automated reminders to that prospective parent to keep on reminding them, hey, you've got that tour coming up, and just friendly reminder, we'll see you at 3:00 today, that type of thing. And then if they, again, another feature of that, calendar that they could cancel, if you want to let them cancel from that email, they can just click a cancel button, and then that staff member gets notified that appointment got canceled, and they don't have to show up for it.
Thanks, Jono. And actually, if you'd like to go ahead and talk about our SEO and our website and how it can integrate with their site, that'd be fantastic.
Sure. So another thing that Hubbli does is some schools use Hubbli to actually be their website as well. Hubbli can be a website replacement. But a lot of schools like their website, and then maybe they just spent $30,000 building a really nice website, so they're not really interested in not using it anymore. But their website doesn't have all these features. It's just just a nice looking website that has static information that's open to the public. Hubbli gives you both sides, but out of the gate, like when you sign up for Hubbli, the day you sign up, you get a website that is out of the box, has all these features, and is a great marketing platform that could be used in addition to your existing website. So some schools use Hubbli as their website, and some schools use Hubbli as an additional marketing platform, because really most of these features that you're using for internal communications can also be used for external communications. So in this workflow that I just talked about, going from prospective family into this automated enrollment process is that bridge of Hubbli site. Your Hubbli site could be, like say a parent does a search, as an example, for Montessori schools in Palo Alto. So they would find one of our Hubbli customers on the first page of those search results. And so, as an example, like the Bowman School in Palo Alto uses Hubbli. They actually use it as their website. But even if they had another website, this would still bring that prospective family into, the marketing system of the school, where when they click on that link, they could land on a page that has a big button that says click here to inquire or click here to contact us, and then gets people into that whole interest and enrollment process. So you have the ability to so some schools just use Hubbli as internal communication. So basically, it's a site, and they log in to access anything. And then some other schools use it as a website replacement, because you get a site where you can customize the design and add your logo and change the colors and upload pictures, and really, it's got all the features of a standard, website that can be, basically added on top of the Hubbli site. Or it can be a great additional sort of, marketing site where with, like, let's say you want to do a campaign, like, your enrollment's down and you want to do some Facebook ads, or you're doing a fundraising campaign. If you want to use Hubbli to be the landing page for that campaign, you could do that with like a click. You could create a page, and even our team will do that for you. So it's got all the, and by the way, we have the search engine optimization features and the security features, and we're always building Hubbli to be optimized for search engines. So you don't have to like pay an additional search engine optimization firm or something, or you don't have to pay web developers to go in and make sure your website is optimized for search engines. We're always building, like, every one of our Hubbli sites has all the best practices and all the technology built in to be to get the highest performance for search engines.
Okay, thanks, Jono. With Hubbli, we actually provide a support desk for you. You can easily book an appointment with one of our team members for a one-on-one help session or training session. You can actually even download a manual on Hubbli if you wanted to. We have a great knowledge base where you can easily click on something to look for how to do something, and we actually provide step-by-step instructions on how to do anything with the nice blocks to point out the things and really guide you through some help. And then, of course, we have our pricing for our different options. I don't know if you wanted to talk about this, Jono?
No, so go ahead.
Okay, so we have 3 different packages that come up with a setup fee. And our setup fee is $2,499 for the essential package, which covers all your communication and paperless administration, meaning your forms. All the communication is the group communication with appointments settings, calendar settings, the SMS and bite-sized communications, photos, documents, newsletters. All those items are in our communication package for essentials. Student information adds the addition of that private page for parents where they can go in and see all the information about their child, and they can update the information as well. Our complete package adds in the invoicing, as well as all the additional features. And then we have our custom package, which has a different setup fee of $4,999 and a monthly subscription fee of $499. And that actually adds in all the website features and the SEO features that Jono was just talking about. The nice thing about our setup is what we do is actually we'll get all from you, all of your forms, every single one of them, and put them in Hubbli for you. And actually going forward, that's something that we'll do anytime for you. If you need help real quick with a form, just send it to us. We'll do it for you. We'll even, we'll teach you as well how to do it. We are there for you anytime you need help. And also with that setup, you actually send us your parents. We'll upload them into the system for you. And we basically create a done-for-you Hubbli site, as well as we go through training sessions with you. We have an onboarding process where you have a one-on-one training sessions with one of our specialists, and they will work with you to set up the Hubbli site how you want it to function.
And also, just with the highest package, the custom package, that's how you can use Hubbli as a site, as a website for marketing purposes. You basically have a web design team like on hand. So at any point in time, if you want to use Hubbli as your website and you want to update a web page, you just send that email off to help@hubbli.com with, like, these are the updates for this page, or add a page with, this information and these pictures, to the menu. I mean, so basically, what you have is you have a team of web designers that are ready to make any updates that you want at any point in time. And like I said, as an example, like, you guys decide you want to do a marketing campaign to increase your enrollment, or to, do a fundraiser or something like that. We'll set that page up for you at no additional cost. You don't have to keep on. I don't know how you guys currently manage your website, or what relationship you have with whoever manages it. But there's no additional cost, meaning all of your updates to your website are all included, and there's a very quick turnaround on that. So if what I've heard from a lot of schools is they've got this amazing website that they just spent $30,000 on, but if they want to make an update, they have to pay like a lot of money. There's no kind of built-in support relationship with that website. It's all done custom through an agency or through a freelance web designer or something. And if you wanna quickly create a page to advertise a particular fundraising campaign, or like I said, do an enrollment marketing campaign, because you see that enrollment's down a little bit and you need to boost enrollment up a little bit, and you're going to do an ad campaign on Facebook or something, which we can even consult you through that as well, by the way. But they, most of the schools we talk to have to go talk to the web designer that made their website to add another page for that. They may or may not be available, or what we hear a lot of times is that there's a parent volunteer that's been managing the website, and then, it's a volunteer thing, so there's no timeline or deliverable or expectation that you can have, and then the parent leaves because their child left the school, and then they don't really know how to manage their website. And I don't know what your scenario is, but that's just something that we hear all the time. Do you mind me asking, how do you guys currently manage your website?
This is Deb, and I manage the website from here and can make simple changes. We do have a designer that we use to make the larger changes, or to add pages or things like that. But can you back up 1 minute and let me know the landing pages for like an ad campaign, so that we can track where our leads are coming from, and work at getting to working out ROIs on different ads? Is that under complete or custom?
Custom.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll be able to track the performance. So you get full analytics inside your dashboard that show you all the traffic on every single page. And so let's say if you're using, so we have a blog feature, and we really do advise, I'm not. Some schools have no concept of content marketing, or how to continually add content to their site to help engage prospective families. So we do a lot of education around that too. We hold a lot of webinars and for our customers on how to use their site and these tools to help them grow and engage both existing families but also prospective families. So your blog is the centerpiece, or should be the centerpiece of that. So we show people how to create blogs, and then also how to see the performance of different blog posts, which you can track. So that's another thing that you can track. So obviously you can create an ad campaign, and that links to a page on your site. You can see that page, the traffic that came to that page, where it came from, and the result, like the opt-in rate from, let's say, a big button or a big call to action on that page that leads people into your inquiry form, into your enrollment process. So you can actually track that all through Hubbli.
Okay. Are there any other questions regarding any of the Hubbli features? Okay. I'll take that as a no. This is a question to the group, actually. Are there specific things, and what do you like about Hubbli? Like if you had to rate it on a scale of, say, 1 to 10, what would you give it?
Me personally, I think I would at least, seeing the presentation, I would give it at least an 8 for now, but I don't know. I haven't been in the system, so I don't really know to be able to say, yeah, I'm definitely giving it a 9 or 10, but from everything that I do see, I feel like it's definitely a more efficient way of doing things.
Yeah, so if I could ask, like, why isn't it a 7? Like, what got it to an 8? You're saying there was efficiency. So, are you seeing examples of how Hubbli can, I guess, make your job easier or allow you to get more work done in the same amount of time?
I definitely do see that as far as like even doing the forms, the calendars, being able to notify parents or prospective parents as well as teachers. I feel like that right there takes a bulk of your time. The groups that we create and trying to send out messages and notifications as far as that, I feel that Hubbli will definitely take that time off and would help us get a lot more stuff done, and I feel like we'll probably progress 10 times further with the system. So that's why I personally gave it an 8.
So if you don't mind me asking, and I'd love to hear from anybody else, if you're saving time in your day, what are some higher value or higher impact tasks that you would spend more time doing rather than kind of manual, messaging of things that can be automated?
I think for our admissions process, it would make all of that more more smooth and more maybe welcoming for the incoming prospective parents to see reminder emails before tours, and it's not anyone having to remember to call and remind. I think it would just look like we had our act together, and responding as soon as an online application was received to say thank you for your application. Here's the link to schedule a tour or an interview or what have you, whatever that process is. I think that would be really helpful. I know I've sent applications off and you don't hear and you're wondering, did they get it or did they not? So I think and I'm not sure, we have a new admissions person and the way he's doing things is different. And I think an improvement is more of a personal touch in terms of phone calls as opposed to emails, which I think people appreciate. But I think just automating the process would make it better. I think, too, the online forms, we've had parents asking for this. Why do we have these pieces of paper that go back and forth? And with the new paperwork, like you were talking about, new paperwork for the beginning of the school year, whether it's a health and emergency contact form. We've had parents that have been here for 10, 11 years, and it's the same form they're filling out every time, where it would be much easier if they just got an email to look at the form that they filled out previously to note changes. Like, wait, my nanny's different this year, and here's the new cell phone and name, and my husband changed work, and so here's the new work contact number, instead of having to fill out everything for, some families have 3, 4, 5 children here. So it's a lot for them to fill out 5 different forms every year for 10 years. But I think that process would be easier. I think being able to pay for incidental things, yearbooks, those types of things online would be huge. Um, yeah, I see a lot of benefit to Hubbli, definitely.
And like you were mentioning, I think you made a great point that I love doing these demos because when I hear the actual school staff sort of say back to me what they see as a value point. You said something that really stuck out in my mind, which was being able to give that personal touch. So like you want to, I think it's important when I talk to schools. I think when we talk about that automated enrollment process, I think there's a lot of value in getting on the phone and talking or having face-to-face discussions, obviously, with these prospective families. The goal of Hubbli is to free up your time so that you actually can have those higher impact engagements with the parents. And I think everyone's better off for that. But a phone call is time consuming, or a face-to-face conversation is time consuming. And so you want to create the margin in your day to do that. And that's what Hubbli is all about, is like freeing your staff up from the repetitive, time-consuming, busy work that a system can handle for you, like an auto response, a customized, personalized auto response to an inquiry form that goes out to that parent that leads them to the page to book a tour. And you don't have to write that email manually. That can take 5 minutes or 10 minutes here or 20 minutes. All the things that you do throughout your day, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, an hour there, looking up information, which can take 3 hours, or, we need to find all the kids. We need a list of all the kids that we have photo release permission for. Things like that can sometimes take days, depending on how, if it's all through paper. But all those little things, or sometimes big things, that are time consuming and really just busy work, that, like every time you send an email to a prospective parent, you don't need a different email. You don't need a handwritten, customized email every time. It needs to say the right thing. You should actually be saying the exact same thing to every parent at that point. That should be automated, and the system can personalize it for that parent. But what the actual message and the process should be the same. And then that frees you by having a system that does that. You have more time to have those conversations over the phone or the face-to-face conversations, which allows you to make better decisions, and to actually engage the parents, more deeply. And as you said, I think, and our stance is that parents want to see a school that has that system in place. They want to see that a school has a system that sends them an automated email when they sign up, because that shows them that this is a professional organization that's well organized and is run by run by people that understand how to run an organization. And at the same time, they have that high impact phone call with you. So they get that value too. Obviously, if they don't engage with you, like, they need to see that professional side, that well organized side, to get that sense of trust. But they also need to have that impactful conversation with the personality in the office too. So what we want to do is automate the things that should be automated and free you up to have those deeper engagements with the prospective family or the existing families, so that you're basically performing better on both sides, if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think too, the group pages for the teachers then to post photos or comments or reminders and do it not on some automated process where we only send communication to parents, once a week on a certain day, but they're able to post it when it's convenient to them or when there's something meaningful happening in the room to help with just opening that communication between parents and faculty, just so they see
Yeah.
a kind of a glimpse into the classroom and they can be a part of that. And I think we don't have that to a great degree now, and I think that would help with retention of our current families, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. If we talk about return on investment of a system like Hubbli, certainly, probably the largest percentage of your, tuition annually is retaining parents, and your best, this conversation I have with schools all the time is like, you guys might be the best school and have amazing teachers, and the kids are having a great time in the classroom, and that's great, but if parents don't know on one level, it kind of doesn't matter if you think about it just from a very sort of business sense of things, because if your customers, who are your parents, don't know what's going on, or they don't know how great you are, they're less likely to keep their kids in your school, even though the kids, you need the parents to have access into what's going on and communication with the but you want it needs to be manageable. And the only reason generally why schools don't have a great parent communication system or lose parents, because even though the kid's having a great time and everything seems to be great, it's just because the parents are uninformed. They don't know what's going on. They're not engaged. So you want to have a great communication system with the parents, because like any business in the world, if your customer doesn't know the value that you're delivering to them, they're less likely to stay with you or basically pay you for that value. They need to know. They need to know how great you are, and you need a communication channel to make that happen. Because there's a lot of ways to communicate to parents, but if it's really hard, it's going to happen less. If it's harder for staff to communicate with parents, and if it's harder for parents to go learn what's going on, it will happen less. So the easier you can make that for everybody, and the more enjoyable the communication process is, the more you're going to see retention. You're going to have a higher retention rate. It's a direct correlation, and obviously, the better and more efficient your onboarding system is, and your sort of external marketing communication is, the higher you'll have, new enrollment too. But it all comes down to communication, and that's why we call Hubbli a parent communication system, because that's what it is. First and foremost, it's a communication system, and that's why we focus so much, because there's a lot of school management systems out there that do a lot of things, but where we see the market failing is around ease of communication management, and so that's where we started from, and every time we talk to a school, it seems to validate more and more that that actually is communication management, that schools are actually spending incredible amounts of money. If you in our surveys and our research, we find that per 100 students, on average, school staff per staff member are spending 40 hours a month managing communication. And that's doing nothing but managing communication. And if from a business from a operations perspective, that's a lot of time, and that's a lot of hassle. And that means that communication is not very good, because if it's that hard to manage communication, it's by the time communication actually happens, people are tired and frustrated, and so you don't get quality communication as much. And just managing all these different tools and different systems and email lists and all that stuff, is that alone, what we're seeing is 40 hours a month. per staff member. And there's also there's a financial impact to that too. That means that, you know, the school is actually spending money on staff members managing communications. So if you take an average, you know, some type of, you know, average hourly rate per staff member, that can easily be per 100 kids. That can be $30,000 a month on staff just managing communication tools. So the investment of that time is really low because it's just staff member, you know, managing communication tools, where they could be actually doing much higher impact, you know, things with that time, and really driving the parent engagement up, and the awareness of how great the school is with the parents, or having higher impact conversations with prospective families. And all these things mean happier parents, higher retention, and new families that come in more frequently, you know, with the higher rate of inquiry to enrollment. So if we could ask at this point, I mean, I'm just sitting here blabbling away, but what is your decision-making process? How are you guys going to go about making a decision to go with Hubbli or not?
I think we're going to get the team together and get input from the various people that will watch the recording, and we'll go from there. So we'll need a week or so probably before we have any sort of answer.
And how many people are part of that decision-making process?
Well, it's definitely the head of school. We've got our board member on the line that's our chair of our communications committee. And then I'm not sure if our technology committee board member might want to weigh in on this too, but we can send him the recording. But I think it's just getting everyone in the room to discuss I see more pros than cons to this. Actually, I don't really see any cons except for the price, but but yeah.
Well, I think if you guys see the pros, I hope the understanding is that the price is a price that will actually reduce a substantial amount of expense. Generally speaking, all those forms are paper and printer ink and time, and that's all a hard cost. And if we reduce that, if you're using Hubbli to its fullest, you could probably reduce the paper usage and management in the office by about 90%, if not more, which alone should probably. How many students do you guys have?
225 roughly.
Okay, so you're talking about thousands of dollars a month that you guys are spending on paper and printer ink for sure, and that instantly goes away.
Yes.
And if Hubbli can impact that 200, I just, you know, if Pat, can you send me the presenter role for a second? I just want to bring up an ROI calculator just real quickly so we can talk context of value for a second.
I think definitely if it can aid us in retention numbers and in our enrollment process or admissions process, I think that has value as well. Definitely.
Sure. And so what I'll suggest is, and I'm happy to run through just real quickly. I'll just show you this ROI calculator that should spell things out a little bit. So if we take the average, let's say you have an average per employee wage being $18, which seems to be, I mean, obviously we're talking averages here. That might be high or low in general, but per 100 kids, let's say we move that to, you said 220?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we assume from what we've learned, and you guys, you can tell me if you think this is accurate or in the ballpark of accurate, but managing communications to parents, like we said, with all the various tools and everything per month, we see staff members spending on average 40 hours, and that's on average across teachers and office staff. So you've got some office staff do it literally all day, some teachers do it half an hour a day, but on average we see 40 hours. So we're talking averages here. Managing and collecting forms and paperwork, 40 hours a month. These are the things that can really add up. So per 220 kids, we're seeing a cost of $56,000 a month of time spent managing those tools, right? And if we can even chop that down to a third, we actually think we can bring that down by 90% and even more than that. If you're really fully using Hubbli for everything that it can do, the time, all that busy work of just shifting papers around and moving, making sure email addresses are up to date and sending out repetitive, all these things that are just busy work. If we can reduce that even down to a third, the school is going to save right there $20,000 a month. And then if right, making assumptions on this, if Hubbli, by engaging the parents better, giving your staff more margin to engage and more automation, and it's simply a better communication system, if it can have a 10% impact, a 10% positive impact on your enrollment numbers, right? So let's say the average percentage of new families coming in by referral, and you let me know if you think this is accurate, but we think that most families that come in by referral. Parents that know other parents at the school. Do you feel like 80% is a reasonable number for your new family, your new enrollment coming in by referral? Is 80% sound right?
That probably is pretty close. Yes.
Okay, so let's just say it's in the ballpark. And let's say the percentage of new families that come in are from marketing. Let's say it's 20%. So we're just saying the new families that come in, we're not talking about the retention, just simply new families that come in, 80% of them are from referrals and 20% of them are from marketing. And then you've got retention rate, let's say a retention rate of 75% of, non-graduating students, right? So if Hubbli can create a better parent communication system, that should impact parent. So if your parents are really happy with the communication at your school, would you agree that they're more likely to refer their friends as opposed to being unhappy with communication?
Yes, I would think so.
Okay, I would think so too. And if your marketing system is better, well, that'll improve your marketing. So if we can improve your referral rate by 10% and your marketing rate by 10%, and if you're getting, if those families that are not graduating are happier, with communication, if we can improve that by 10%, then we're talking about on all those different levers of that are very important to the school, obviously. We think we could boost your annual revenue by, let's say current number of students, let's say I have to update that number, by 200,000, approximately $215,000 increased revenue from enrollment. So a total ROI of savings per month and increased enrollment based off the assumptions that we've gone through of basically $450,000. So that's what a system like, if Hubbli does what it says it's going to do, and we believe it does, obviously, if it has the impact that we're building it to have, even by small amounts, like 10%, on things like, parent happiness or parent referral rates or, marketing, right? If we can increase your marketing performance from 20 to 22%, right? If we can increase that, then we're talking about some pretty large, a fairly large return on investment, and for something that costs not even a tenth of that price. So, because we're talking, so this obviously for us, not everybody probably on this call deals with things like this, but since this is the demo and the recording, I think this is certainly important information for people to think about, because some people are just thinking about, their job is, communicating directly with parents, and some people's job is like, let's make sure that this school is performing well, and obviously we can, be more efficient and make our customers happier and increase our enrollment rates. A communication system that gives staff an experience that they enjoy and gives parents the experience that they enjoy should have a very high impact on the bottom line of a school, and that's why we focus on it so much. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to hand it back to Pat. I have to actually run off. I'm going to go visit spending a day with Santa Cruz Montessori. So it's one of our schools, and if you want, they're happy to be a reference too. But I'm actually going there today, so if you want to chat with them, they're always happy to be a reference point. And so I have to hop off. I'll let Pat wrap up the call with you guys. I just want to tell you, just express my appreciation for spending all this time with us today. It's been a long demo, and it's very much appreciated on our side, and I certainly hope we get the opportunity and the honor to be your school's communication system, and to work with you guys to essentially make your lives easier and make your parents really happy with the way the school is communicating, both before and after they become parents. So, like I said, thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jono.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was wonderful that you guys could spend so much time with us. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm here if you have any questions, in the next time when you guys get together to discuss this. And then shall I check in with Deb in about a few days, about a week?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So I'll get in touch with you in about a week. And like I said, if there's any questions that come up in the meanwhile, I'm here. You give me a call or send me an email, and we'd love to address those. And like Jono said, it would be fantastic to have you part of the Hubbli family. I know we can definitely help improve your communications and streamline a lot of things for you. So it would be a great opportunity for both of us.
Great. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.